Welcome back to another episode of Lucid Daily, and today was the Q4 earnings call for Lucid. They also talked about their full year of 2021 and gave a little bit of guidance going into 2022 and onward. Let's go ahead and talk about it so you don't have to listen to the hour earnings call. I'm going to go ahead and break down exactly what they talked about in a very condensed time. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, he started off by saying that they could have produced cars faster than they did, but they did not want to compromise their quality of cars. Now, investors in the short term, that might hurt a little bit, but in the long term, I do think that that is something that Lucid will always have, is their quality of car is completely sublime, and there's not many manufacturers that have as high of quality of vehicles as they do, especially in the electric vehicle industry. Peter Rawlinson then went off to mention a ton of accolades they had won, like the Car of the Year from Motor Trend. He also did say that this is a software company more than a hardware company, and later in the call, he even said that this is a software technology race. So that was something super interesting to hear from him. Now, one of the biggest numbers, probably the best news that we got from Lucid, and there was a couple pieces of really good news, but one of the biggest pieces of news is they now have 25,000 reservations. That is up 47% from last November. So I believe they're at 17,000 reservations, and like I said, they're now at 25,000 reservations, and I'll dive into that number a little bit more. Next, he said the Dream Edition is completely sold out. We already knew that. He talked about the Saudi Arabia and the new factory that they are currently constructing. He also did get into the supply constraint challenges. Now, when I talked to Peter Rawlinson personally and I told him that I'd cover Lucid on a daily basis, he reiterated that to me in person. He said supply constraint issues have been tough. He then went on to revise the 2022 production estimate from 20,000 cars in 2022 down to 12 to 14,000 cars in 2022. Now, that was probably the biggest dagger of the day when it came to the earnings call, is a lot of people were really banking on that 20,000 number, but 12 to 14 kind of hurts a little bit. I will be doing a full breakdown of the financials of this. I'm just kind of doing the fundamentals of it, and I will get into the financials of it in another video, so consider subscribing if you want to see that. Next, we talk about the logistical issues. Now, this may have to do with semi-trucks or getting parts to the factory, basically just the bottlenecks of all the logistical and supply constraint issues that we're seeing across the globe. Then he talked about something specifically that I had not heard about yet. He talked about the engineering specifications, the difficulty behind that, meaning that the engineers were not able to go to the actual factory or manufacturing facility and see the exact part that they were going to build. They just had to kind of do it virtually during COVID, and he said that that was an issue. I think that he was kind of touching on the recall. The only information about the recall he gave us was the fact that they only had a handful of cars that had this issue, and I believe this to be true because on Twitter, most of the people that I see that have Dream Edition say that they had a technician come out, they looked at the part, and in under an hour they said that they didn't have the issue, and it was only a handful of cars that had the issue. So my guess is not more than 10 or 20 cars had this issue. So I could be completely wrong on that. Let me know if I am. The next thing, he was talking about how hard they're trying to work to vertically integrate the company and pass these bottlenecks of supply constraint issues and take manufacturing into their own hands. Obviously, it's a lot easier said than done. I don't think they were going to dive into the exact specifics of engineering on the call, but whatever. Probably another big bummer is they did say that they are pushing the Gravity, which is the SUV, into the first half of 2024 rather than 2023, which is a pretty big bummer, but it is what it is. He said that they have produced 400 cars. They have delivered 300 to date. So we do know that they have production rolling. Now, he did say, now I'm going to have to double check this. I'm going to have to listen to the earnings call and listen again. But I believe he said that the Grand Touring has higher demand than the Air Pure. I could be wrong on that. I'll double check. But if so, that's fascinating. Next, he said that the Air Pure will come later this year. But wait, there's more. He was asked the question, what is your strategy to compete with Tesla? Now, what I wanted to hear was Peter Rawlinson say, well, when I worked at Tesla, they didn't do very good at this. So at Lucid, we're trying to do better at this. But he said, we're not trying to compete with Tesla. We're doing our own thing. We're trying to build the best car in the world. And okay, I'll take that answer. But I wanted the first example that I gave you. That was kind of the answer I wanted, but it's not what we got. Oh well. They were then asked again, how are they going to handle chip shortages? Again, he did explain that they are trying to vertically integrate the manufacturing within the company, but he didn't give any specifics. Then I cannot believe this question was asked, but it was asked. They said, is there any progress with the Apple car? And I don't think that was the exact wording of it, but basically they were asked, are you going to make a car with Apple? And he said, no, that's not on the book right now. It's not on the table. They have attracted other technology companies, and they are always open to partnerships. So does not sound like Apple's in the rumblings at all or anything like that. I know there's a lot of rumors about it. I even fed into it a little bit, but the more I learn, Peter Rawlinson right now just killed that. He's like, there's no partnership with Apple right now. The stock didn't react too negatively to that, so I don't think too many people were assuming that. He said that they always take quality of cars over number of cars. So as an investor into Lucid, you're just going to have to learn that that's how it's going to be, that they are going to strive for quality over a number delivered. He said they are also the CFO said they are funded into they are able to go into 2023 with any cash, with the cash they have available. Now at first I was like, okay, that's cool. But now when I think about it, I'm like, that's like a year and a half, 2 years. 2023. She did also say that they plan to source many sources of different ways of raising capital. So stay tuned for that. We'll see. So the runway is less than 24 months of the capital that they have, from what I understand. But again, I will be doing a deeper breakdown of their financials. Now, this is where it gets pretty interesting. Of the 25,000 vehicles that they have reserved, it's only open to 3 different countries. Well, a handful of different countries. North America, Europe, and the Middle East. And most of those reservations come out of North America. And they have started producing the Grand Touring. It is officially in production, but wait, it gets better. He says they have officially delivered Grand Touring cars. I've yet to see a picture of one. If you see a picture of one, please send it to me on Twitter or send me an email, whatever it may be. Another thing that I didn't hear that I wanted to hear about, I didn't think that they were going to talk about this, but in my dreams I wanted it to happen. I wanted to hear what's going on with the SEC. We heard they were under investigation, but nothing since. So I would love to hear exactly what's going on. Again, they did push the Project Gravity from 2023 to 2024. And he was asked the 10-year production goal, like the 10-year, where do you see Lucid in 10 years? And he said they are laser focused on production, their delivery targets, the air touring will begin production later this year, as well as the Air Pure later this year, and they are focused on scaling. That's basically what he talked about in terms of their earnings call. So if you guys got any sort of value from that, please consider subscribing. I will be doing a deeper breakdown into their financials, but that does just take me more time to process all of that. Next, you did see the stock fall about 14% here in the after hours. Since the earnings call, they've fallen about 0.5% more. They fell 13%. They were flat through the earnings call, so nothing was reacted to too heavily. I imagine the big drop is due to the revision of 20,000 vehicles down to 12 to 14,000, which is a huge bummer. I'm not gonna lie, but it's an early company. We're gonna have to learn as investors to deal with this. I'll be interested to see where they open tomorrow, and based off of that, I'll be making my investing decision. But again, guys, I've learned, don't panic sell, but also don't panic buy. Like, it's okay to be patient. That's my opinion. You don't have to follow it. It's not financial advice. But if you guys enjoy information about Lucid on a daily basis, I try to be as middle in the road as possible. I try not to be super hyperbole, but I also try not to be super down or bear. I want to give information the way it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you got any sort of value from it, consider subscribing, and I'll see you tomorrow. Happy investing.